checking up on you constantly.
Okay.
So yeah,
okay.
that becomes toxic, and like I say, you feel like you're walking on eggshells. You don't know what you're going to meet when you return home.
Again, and I, because we talk to people that are dating, engaged, newly married. I don't know how to sound the warning any louder, right? If you're in a relationship and you're seeing this kind of behavior, what's the technical term you use? Oh, I got it. Run. Yeah, I think that's the therapist term, right?
Okay. Yes, I have a plan of exit.
Oh, okay. So
leave, go.
Yeah,
get out of there.
But just think about this: misunderstandings. You can grow. You can grow versus if you have a power play, it's going to escalate.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And so that becomes, most conflicts you can deal with versus, the repeated patterns, which are power play or control aspects.
You're saying that like when something is difficult, it should come to a resolution.
Right.
But if it's
and you
toxic,
grow from it.
Yeah, and you
learn
grow from it. And you learn from it. But if it's toxic, then it's something that is continually repeating.
And it usually
it's
escalates.
escalating.
Yeah.
And the person's not growing, they're not getting any better. I guess that's another sign.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Man, there's so many things you guys have said that are so counterintuitive to how I naturally think.
The jealousy thing, I'm trying to figure out how to like phrase this example, but I was listening to another podcast.
Wow, you should listen to a lot of podcasts.
Listen, I'm on social media. I like listening to podcasts. I listen to the news. I like to be informed on what I like to be informed about. So, and I find relationships very fascinating. I find people in general very fascinating. And I think the jealousy can come into play when you think about traditional roles. If a couple has not had a conversation about what roles are going to be like in our specific relationship, and they're both just operating off of like maybe older roles that they saw in their family, society roles, then I do think that can open the door for jealousy to happen. So this other podcast I was listening to, they were interviewing
She's doing it again.
They were interviewing a couple, and it was really more about finances, but it ended up kind of becoming a counseling session or a relationship coaching session. And one of the things in here was the man in the relationship, he was so adamant about like being the provider and being kind of like the primary breadwinner. I think people tie those two together. Like if you're going to be the provider, that also means you should be making all the money, which I don't know that those two things are like the same. But he had such a connection to being the primary breadwinner and to providing that his wife, her business had actually been bringing in more money at one point, but they had kind of like turned the lever down on her business so that he
make more money.
I mean, yeah, so that he could focus in on his business and she could be at home and take care of things, and that would allow him to build up his business. Now, I don't know that I would say like jealousy was maybe the intention or the reason for why he did that, but I do think that it could have been part of that, because it's like, well, this is supposed to me. It's almost jealousy in the sense of like you're doing the role that I'm supposed to be doing. You're making more money when I'm supposed to be the one who's making
which
money.
is a very insecure mindset.
Okay, now let me say a couple of things. I do believe it is my primary responsibility to be the provider. I think that's how God set things up. I mean, that is my primary responsibility. Now, does that mean that I'm uncomfortable? There have been times when you've made more money than I've made.
Yeah.
There have been times when you were working and I didn't have a job. But I wanted to make sure I was providing, but I certainly wasn't trying to, not that you said this, but I certainly wasn't trying to sabotage what you're doing or asking you to pull back.
Especially when you think about the unit.
A lot of men are defined by that. So you have to be careful with it. But like you said, it's a traditional role mindset.
But even
and they'll have
we. So let's say
exactly. We don't have that. That's not the proper, I would say, the proper way to look at that.
In your therapist practice, if it takes off and you're making millions of dollars, well, I'm sorry, we're making millions of dollars.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm not bothered by that.
Right.
Matter of fact,
And I
why
think-
aren't you making millions of dollars?